She kissed the billionaire to save his life and accidentally stole his heart. He was the kind of man whose name opened doors before he even walked through them. A billionaire whose face appeared in magazines and whose decisions shook markets. But on the night everything changed. He wasn't surrounded by cameras or boardrooms or security. He was lying unconscious on a cold marble floor, breath fading, life slipping away. And the only person standing near him was a girl no one knew. A girl who had no idea that fate had placed her at the center of a moment that would rewrite both their lives. Her name was Mira, a simple waitress working the evening shift at an upscale charity gala she could never afford to attend as a guest. And she had been carrying a tray of drinks when she noticed the billionaire stagger, turn pale, and collapse behind the shimmering curtains near the backstage hallway. Everyone else was too busy dancing, too busy chasing photographs and money and connections. But Mira dropped the tray, knelt beside him, shook his shoulders, and realized with terror that he wasn't breathing, that his pulse was shallow, that he was dying right there in her trembling hands. She screamed for help, but the music drowned her voice, so without thinking, without logic, guided only by instinct and fear, she tilted his head back and pressed her lips to his, offering air, offering life, giving breath from her lungs to his, her heartbeat thundering against his still chest as if begging him to live. One breath, then another, her lips soft against his cold ones, until suddenly he gasped, his chest rising sharply, eyes opening halfway, confused and unfocused, but alive because of her. Security arrived, paramedics rushed in, but even as they lifted him, his gaze clung to her face, the girl with wide, terrified eyes who had kissed him not out of romance, not out of desire, but out of desperation to save a stranger she didn't even know. He tried to speak, but collapsed again from weakness, yet the last thing he saw was her face fading into the blur of flashing lights. Days passed. The world learned that the billionaire, Arav Malek, the youngest tech magnate in the country, had suffered a sudden allergic reaction that nearly stopped his heart. And news channels buzzed with rumors about who saved him, but no name was released. Mira went back to her ordinary life, convincing herself that someone like him would never remember someone like her. But she didn't know that Arav woke up in the hospital with one question tormenting him. Who was she? He could see only her eyes, her trembling hands, the way she whispered, "Please don't die," like a prayer against his lips. He searched the guest list, interrogated staff, reviewed every camera angle, and still found nothing, until one grainy recording showed her dropping the tray and running to him. He froze the frame, zoomed in, and felt something warm in his chest he didn't understand. Gratitude, fascination, and something dangerously close to longing. When he found the restaurant she worked for, he didn't send an assistant or a manager. He went himself, stepping into the quiet cafe where she stood wiping tables, unaware her life was about to shatter. She turned, eyes widening, breath catching at the sight of the man she had saved standing right in front of her, alive, strong, breathtaking in a tailored suit that made the entire room feel too small. "You," he said softly, not the voice of a billionaire, but of a man who remembered dying in someone's arms. "I've been looking for you." Mira panicked, apologizing, saying she shouldn't have touched him, kissed him, that she only wanted to help. But he stepped closer and said the words that stopped her heart. "You didn't just help me, you brought me back." He asked her to sit with him, talk with him, let him thank her properly. But as they spoke, something began to shift like gravity pulling them together. Her honesty melting his polished perfection, his intensity unraveling her quiet world. Days turned into meetings, meetings into conversations that stretched into midnight, and every time he looked at her, he saw the girl who breathed life into him, and every time she looked at him, she saw the man whose heartbeat had returned under her hands. He tried to keep things simple, telling himself he only owed her gratitude, but each moment near her felt like a second chance crafted by fate, and he found himself falling for her laugh,
her stubborn spirit, her warmth that no wealth could buy. The world soon discovered the story, the billionaire who searched for the girl who saved his life, and gossip exploded, cameras following them everywhere, critics claiming she was using him, jealous elites trying to push her away. But Arav held her hand in front of the world, and Mira, trembling but brave, held his back. One night, standing on the rooftop of his skyscraper, as city lights glittered like scattered stars beneath them, he touched the spot over his heart and whispered, "The night you saved my life, I think you also stole my heart." She tried to deny it, laugh it off, but he took her hands and pulled her close, his voice low, raw, real. "If you hadn't kissed me that night, I wouldn't be alive. If you hadn't found me, nothing in my world would matter. Mira, you didn't just save my life, you became it." She felt tears sting her eyes as he kissed her, not a desperate breath of life, but a kiss slow and full of meaning, the kind of kiss that said she was no longer the waitress who stood on the edges of his world. She was the woman who changed it completely. And in that moment, with the wind in her hair and his arms around her, she finally understood. Fate didn't bring her to him so she could save his life. It brought her to him so she could become part of it.